The woman in the Mercedes had exactly 12 minutes before hypothermia would kill her. Terrell Jackson had no way of knowing this as he pulled over in the blizzard, and he definitely didn't know she was about to hand him a check that would change everything. You see, when billionaire Victoria Sterling's car died on that frozen highway, she wasn't just another stranded motorist. Hidden in her briefcase were documents for a $50 million community investment project. And the neighborhood at the top of her list? The exact same streets where Terrell had spent his whole life struggling to make ends meet. But here's what makes this story incredible. Terrell almost didn't stop. His grandmother was waiting at home. His car was barely running. He had every reason to keep driving through that storm and mind his own business. What he did next would save 2 lives, reunite a family, and prove that sometimes the biggest rewards come from the smallest acts of kindness. 5:30 in the morning. The alarm screams through Terrell Jackson's cramped South Side apartment, but he's already awake. He's been staring at the ceiling for 20 minutes, doing the math in his head. Rent's due in 3 days. Grandma's insulin prescription needs refilling. Maya's foster care review is next month, and he still doesn't have the stable housing situation the social worker keeps asking about. 29 years old, and Terrell feels like he's been running uphill his entire life. He rolls out of bed quietly, careful not to wake Grandma Evelyn in the next room. Her breathing sounds better today. The new medication is helping, even if it's eating through their grocery budget. Terrell pulls on his custodial uniform, the same navy blue shirt he's worn to the Millennium Office Tower every morning for 2 years. It's honest work. It pays $11 an hour. It's not enough. In the kitchen, he starts Grandma's coffee and counts out her pills. Diabetes medication, blood pressure pills, the arthritis prescription that costs $60 even with insurance. She's 78 and raised him after his parents died in that car accident 11 years ago. She deserves better than watching every penny, but this is the reality they're living. Morning, baby. Grandma Evelyn shuffles into the kitchen, her walker scraping against the linoleum. You eating breakfast today? I'm good, Grandma. Got some crackers for later. It's a lie. He's saving the real food for her, but she doesn't need to know that. She gives him that look, the one that says she knows exactly what he's doing. Terrell, you can't pour from an empty cup. I'm not empty, just conserving energy. He kisses her forehead and grabs his work bag. I'll call you at lunch, okay? The morning shift at Millennium Tower is 4 hours of mopping floors, emptying trash cans, and cleaning bathrooms for people who make more in a week than he sees in 6 months. But Terrell doesn't resent them. He watches how they carry themselves, how they talk about investments and opportunities, and he learns. During his lunch break, he studies business courses on his phone, free online classes from the community college. Someday, he tells himself, someday he'll wear a suit to work instead of coveralls. At noon, he clocks out and drives his ancient Honda to the delivery company. The engine makes a grinding noise that's getting worse every day, but a mechanic costs money he doesn't have. The delivery job pays $15 an hour plus tips, but it means putting 200 miles a day on a car that already has 180,000 on the odometer. Today, he's delivering medical supplies to senior centers across the city. Every address reminds him of Grandma. Every elderly face makes him think about providing better care for the woman who sacrificed everything to raise him and his sister Maya. Maya. The thought hits him like it does every day around 3 p.m. when kids are getting out of school. She should be walking through their front door right now, complaining about homework, asking what's for dinner. Instead, she's in a foster home on the other side of the city because when their parents died, Terrell was 19 with no job, no money, and no way to convince child services he could provide stability. He calls the foster home every Tuesday and Thursday. Maya always sounds happy to hear from him, but there's something in her voice, a distance that wasn't there before. She's 15 now, growing up without him. The social worker says he can apply for custody again when he has stable employment and adequate housing. 2 things that feel impossible when you're working multiple jobs just to survive. By 6 p.m., Terrell's back home helping Grandma with dinner. She insists on cooking even though standing for long periods makes her ankles swell. Tonight it's chicken and rice. Simple, cheap, filling. They eat while watching the news, and she asks about his day like she always does. "How are those business classes going?" "Good. Learning about marketing today." "Did you know most small businesses fail because they don't understand their customers?" "Smart boy. Your daddy would be proud." She pats his hand. "You're going to do something special, baby. I can feel it." After dinner, Terrell helps her with her evening medication and gets her settled in front of her favorite TV show. Then he heads to his weekend job, fixing cars in Tommy's garage. It's under-the-table work, $20 an hour, but it's only Friday and Saturday nights. Tommy's teaching him about business, too, in his own way. "CT," Tommy says as they work on a transmission together. "It's not about being the cheapest. It's about being the most reliable. People will pay extra for someone they trust." Terrell files that advice away with everything else he's learning. Someday, he wants his own shop. Someday, he wants to hire guys from the neighborhood, give them the same chance Tommy gave him. But tonight, as he drives home through the quiet streets at 11 p.m., those dreams feel as distant as the stars. Tomorrow, he'll wake up at 5:30 and do it all over again. 3 jobs, 20-hour days, and still barely enough to keep his head above water. What Terrell doesn't know is that in less than 12 hours, everything will change. Because sometimes the universe puts exactly the right person in exactly the right place at exactly the right time, and all it takes is the courage to stop and help. The radio crackles with another weather warning as Terrell drives through the empty streets. "This is emergency broadcasting. All residents advised to avoid travel. Blizzard conditions with wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour. Visibility near zero. If you must travel, keep emergency supplies in your vehicle." Terrell turns the volume down and grips the steering wheel tighter. His Honda's heater is barely working, blowing cold air that fogs up the windshield faster than the defroster can clear it. Every few seconds, he has to lean forward and wipe the glass with his sleeve just to see the road. It's 11:15 p.m., and the storm that started as light snow 6 hours ago has turned into something dangerous. The Weather Service called it a once-in-a-decade blizzard, but Terrell couldn't afford to leave work early. Tommy needed help finishing Mrs. Rodriguez's brake job, and $20 an hour was $20 an hour. Now he's paying for that decision. The streets are buried under 8 inches of snow, with more falling every minute. His route home usually takes 15 minutes, but tonight he's been driving for 40, and he's only halfway there. The Honda's tires slip every time he tries to accelerate, and the engine coughs like it's struggling to breathe in the frigid air. Terrell takes the highway because the side streets are completely impassable. Usually this stretch of I-94 is bumper-to-bumper traffic, but tonight it's a ghost road. Snow swirls across the asphalt like white curtains, and the streetlights create these eerie yellow circles in the darkness. He's thinking about Grandma, hoping she remembered to take her evening pills when he sees the lights. At first, they're just a dim orange glow through the snow curtain ahead. Probably another abandoned car, he thinks. There have been 3 already, vehicles stuck in drifts with their hazard lights blinking weakly until their batteries died. But as he gets closer, something feels different. The lights are too steady, too bright, and they're coming from the shoulder, not the middle of the road where someone would get stuck. Terrell slows down, his windshield wipers fighting a losing battle against the accumulating snow. That's when he sees it. A black Mercedes, pristine except for the snow piling up on its hood. The engine is running. He can see exhaust vapor rising from the tailpipe. But the car isn't moving. The hazard lights flash in a rhythm that seems almost desperate. Terrell's first instinct is to keep driving. This isn't his neighborhood. Rich people have resources he doesn't. They have Tupperware and roadside assistance and heated parking garages to go home to. Besides, he needs to get home to Grandma. But then he sees movement in the driver's seat. Someone's inside that car. Someone who's been sitting in sub-zero temperatures while their expensive vehicle turned into a very pretty death trap. Terrell pulls over 50 feet ahead of the Mercedes, his Honda sliding slightly as he hits the brakes. The wind hits his car like a physical force, rocking it back and forth. Through his rearview mirror, he can see the other car more clearly now. The driver's side window is cracked open, just a sliver, like someone trying to get fresh air. That's not good. When you're trapped in a car during a blizzard, you keep the windows closed to conserve heat. Opening a window means you're either panicking or you're already showing signs of hypothermia. Terrell sits in his car for 30 seconds, engine running, heater blowing that pathetic stream of lukewarm air. He thinks about Maya, who always told him he cared too much about other people. He thinks about Grandma, who taught him that we're all in this together, baby. He thinks about his parents, who died because no one stopped to help when their car went off the road on a night just like this. His phone shows no signal. Even if he called 911, emergency services aren't running in these conditions. The news said all non-essential vehicles were off the roads until morning. Morning might be too late for whoever's in that Mercedes. Terrell turns off his engine and zips up his work jacket. The wind hits him like a slap when he opens the door, and snow immediately starts accumulating on his shoulders. Each step toward the Mercedes is a battle against the wind, his work boots slipping on the invisible ice beneath the snow. As he gets closer, he can see the figure inside more clearly. An elderly woman wearing what looks like an expensive coat. Her head is tilted back against the headrest, and her eyes are closed. Terrell taps on the passenger window with his knuckle, gentle but firm. The woman's eyes snap open, and for a moment she looks terrified. Then she sees his face, concerned, not threatening, and her expression changes to something like relief. She rolls down the window just enough to speak, and when she does, her voice is shaky but controlled. "Oh, thank goodness. I thought—" She pauses, gathering herself. "My car just died completely. I've been here for almost an hour." What Terrell doesn't know is that this woman has exactly 11 minutes before hypothermia becomes irreversible. What he also doesn't know is that saving her life is about to save his own in ways he never could have imagined. "Ma'am, you can't stay out here." Terrell has to shout over the wind. "This storm's getting worse, and your car's not going to protect you much longer." The woman looks up at him through the crack in her window. Even in the dim light from her dashboard, he can see she's shivering. Her lips have a slight blue tint that makes his stomach clench with worry. "I've been trying to call for help, but—" She holds up her phone, showing no signal bars. "I don't know what happened to my car. It just stopped running completely." "When did it die?" "Maybe an hour ago. I've been running the heater on battery power, but it stopped working about 10 minutes ago." Terrell's heart sinks. An hour in this cold, even inside a car, is dangerous. 10 minutes without heat in sub-zero temperatures could already be causing hypothermia. "Ma'am, I need you to listen to me carefully. My car's not much to look at, but it's warm and it's running. I can give you a ride somewhere safe." She hesitates, and he understands why. He's a stranger in work clothes approaching her expensive car in the middle of a blizzard. But then she looks into his eyes, and something in his expression must convince her. "Are you sure? I don't want to put you at risk." "We're both at risk if we stay out here much longer. Come on." The woman nods and starts gathering her things. Terrell notices she's wearing heels, completely wrong for this weather, and her coat, while expensive-looking, isn't designed for survival conditions like this. "Do you have a bag or anything you need?" "Just my purse and this briefcase." She holds up a leather case that looks like it costs more than Terrell makes in a month. "I can't leave this behind." "No problem. I'll help you carry it." Opening her door against the wind takes both of them pulling from opposite sides. The moment she steps out of the Mercedes, the storm hits her like a wall. She stumbles, and Terrell catches her arm, steadying her. "Easy. I've got you." The walk to his Honda is only 50 feet, but it feels like a mile. The woman's heels keep sliding on the hidden ice, and Terrell finds himself practically carrying her weight. Snow stings their faces like needles, and the wind cuts through their clothes like it's nothing. "Almost there!" he shouts, guiding her toward the passenger door of his beat-up Honda. When he opens the door, Warm air spills out. Not much, but enough to make them both grateful. He helps her into the passenger seat, then goes around to put her briefcase in the back. "I'm sorry about the car," he says as he gets behind the wheel. "The heater's not great, but it's warmer than outside." "Don't apologize. This is perfect." She's already stopped shivering as violently. "I'm Victoria, by the way. Victoria Sterling." "Terrell Jackson. Nice to meet you, Mrs. Sterling, though I wish it was under better circumstances." "Please, just Victoria. And thank you. I honestly thought—" She trails off, but they both know what she was thinking. Terrell adjusts the vents to blow directly toward her and cranks the heat as high as it will go. "Where can I take you? Do you live nearby?" "Downtown, but honestly, anywhere warm would be fine. I don't want you driving in this if it's not safe." "There's a 24-hour diner about 3 miles from here. Good heat, good coffee. We can wait there until the storm passes or until a tow truck can help with your car." As they drive, Terrell keeps the speed under 20 miles per hour. The Honda handles better than the Mercedes would have in this snow. It's lighter and the tires have more tread, but visibility is still almost zero. "So what were you doing out in this storm?" he asks, making conversation to keep them both calm. "I was coming back from a business dinner, got turned around somewhere and ended up on the highway when the worst of it hit." She pauses. "What about you? Most people are smart enough to be home right now." "I work weekends at an auto shop. Couldn't leave until we finished a job." He doesn't mention that he couldn't afford to leave early, but something in his tone suggests it. "3 jobs?" Victoria asks gently. Terrell glances at her, surprised. "How did you—" "You mentioned custodial work earlier, delivery driving, and now the auto shop. That's a lot of work for one person." "Yeah, well, family needs what family needs." He doesn't elaborate, but Victoria nods like she understands. They drive in comfortable silence for a few minutes, the Honda's engine working hard against the wind. The diner's neon sign appears through the snow like a beacon. Red letters spelling Rosie's with half the bulbs burned out, but it's the most beautiful sight either of them has seen all night. Terrell parks as close to the entrance as possible and turns off the engine. "Ready to make another run for it? With you leading the way?" "Absolutely." The diner is almost empty, just a tired-looking waitress and a trucker nursing coffee at the counter. But it's warm and bright, and when they shake the snow off their clothes, Victoria actually smiles for the first time since he found her. "Table for 2? The waitress looks curious about the unlikely pair, Terrell in his work clothes and Victoria in her expensive coat, but she's friendly enough. "Please, and could we get some coffee right away? She's been stuck in the cold for a while." "Of course, honey. Y'all sit anywhere you like." They choose a booth near the window where they can watch the storm. Victoria wraps her hands around her coffee mug like it's a lifeline, and gradually, the color returns to her cheeks. "I can't thank you enough," she says. "You didn't have to stop. Most people wouldn't have." "Most people would have," Terrell replies automatically. "You just got unlucky with the timing." Victoria studies his face. "No, I think I got very lucky with the timing, and very lucky that you were the one who found me." Something in her tone makes him look up from his coffee. She's watching him with an intensity that has nothing to do with gratitude, almost like she's trying to memorize his face, or like she's figuring something out. But before he can ask what she's thinking, the lights flicker, and they both turn to look out the window. The storm is getting worse, not better. They're going to be here for a while. What Terrell doesn't know is that Victoria Sterling isn't just grateful for the rescue. She's already wondering if the man who saved her life might be exactly the person she's been looking for to help her save an entire community. But first, she needs to know who he really is. The storm rages outside Rosie's diner for 3 hours. 3 hours of conversation that changes everything, though neither of them realizes it yet. Victoria learns that Terrell volunteers at the community center, teaching kids basic car maintenance. Terrell learns that Victoria grew up in a neighborhood not unlike his own before her family moved when she was 12. They talk about family, responsibility, and the weight of taking care of people you love. By 2:30 a.m., the snow finally stops falling. The wind dies down to occasional gusts, and the emergency radio announces that main roads are being cleared for essential vehicles. "I should get you home," Terrell says, though part of him doesn't want this conversation to end. Victoria is different from what he expected. No condescension, no pity, just genuine interest in his life and thoughtful questions about his goals. "Are you sure it's safe to drive? The highway will be plowed by now. And honestly, I need to get back to my grandmother. She worries when I'm out too late." Victoria nods, understanding immediately. "Of course. Let me just..." She reaches into her designer purse and pulls out an expensive leather wallet. "Please, let me pay you for gas, for your time, for the risk you took helping me." She pulls out several $100 bills, more money than Terrell makes in a week, and holds them across the table. Terrell looks at the money for exactly 2 seconds, then gently pushes her hand back. "I can't take that. Please. You saved my life. You used your gas, your time. Ma'am." "Victoria, I helped because it was the right thing to do, not because I wanted payment." His voice is quiet but firm. "Anyone would have done the same thing." "No, they wouldn't have. And even if they would have, that doesn't mean you shouldn't be compensated." Terrell shakes his head. "My grandmother raised me to help people because they need help, not because there's something in it for me. If I take your money, then I didn't really help you. I just did a job." Victoria stares at him for a long moment. In her world, everything has a price. Everyone wants something, but this young man is refusing hundreds of dollars after risking his safety for a stranger. "Then at least let me give you my business card, in case you ever need anything." She reaches into her purse again and pulls out a small silver card holder. The cards inside are thick, expensive cardstock with raised lettering. She writes something on the back of one before handing it to him. "Victoria Sterling, Sterling Foundation," Terrell reads aloud, then glances at what she wrote on the back, her personal cell phone number. "What kind of foundation?" "Community development. We work with neighborhoods that need investment." She pauses, choosing her words carefully. "I meant what I said about your business ideas, Terrell. You have good instincts." Terrell slips the card into his wallet without really processing what Sterling Foundation might mean. He's focused on getting Victoria home safely and getting back to Grandma. "Ready to brave the cold one more time?" The drive to Victoria's downtown address takes 40 minutes on the slowly clearing roads. Terrell's Honda handles the conditions well, but he drives carefully, both hands on the wheel, checking every few seconds to make sure Victoria is warm enough. When they pull up to her building, Terrell's eyes widen slightly. It's one of those luxury high-rises with a doorman and valet parking, the kind of place he's only seen in movies. "This is you?" "This is me." Victoria gathers her briefcase and purse. "Terrell, I want you to promise me something." "What's that?" "Promise me you'll call that number I gave you, not for money, not for charity, but because I think we might be able to help each other." Before he can ask what she means, she's out of the car. The doorman appears instantly, greeting her by name, holding an umbrella over her head as she walks to the entrance. She turns back once, waves through the glass doors, and mouths, "Call me." Terrell sits in his idling Honda for a moment, watching her disappear into the marble lobby. Something about this whole night feels significant, but he can't put his finger on what. He drives home through the quiet, snow-covered streets, thinking about Victoria's intensity when she said they might be able to help each other. But mostly, he's thinking about getting home to Grandma and catching a few hours of sleep before his morning shift. What he doesn't know is that Victoria Sterling is already upstairs in her penthouse, making phone calls despite the late hour, putting a plan in motion that will change his life forever. Terrell gets home at 3:45 a.m. to find Grandma Evelyn waiting up in her recliner, a blanket pulled up to her chin and the local news playing softly on TV. "There's my boy," she says, relief evident in her voice. "I was worried sick about you driving in that storm." "I'm fine, Grandma. Sorry I'm so late." He kisses her forehead and helps her to her bedroom. Had to help someone whose car broke down. In this weather? Lord have mercy. You and that big heart of yours. She pats his cheek. Tell me about it in the morning, baby. You look exhausted. After getting Grandma settled, Terrell sits at their small kitchen table and pulls out Victoria's business card. Under the fluorescent light, he can see details he missed in the diner. The paper is thick, expensive. The logo is embossed gold. Sterling Foundation is printed in elegant script below her name. He flips the card over and looks at the phone number she wrote by hand. Her handwriting is precise, confident, the handwriting of someone used to making important decisions. Terrell pulls out his phone and searches Sterling Foundation Chicago. What he finds makes him sit up straighter. Headlines scroll past. Sterling Foundation announces $20 million Southside investment. Community development project transforms Detroit neighborhood. Billionaire philanthropist Victoria Sterling focuses on urban renewal. Billionaire. Terrell stares at his phone screen. The woman he pulled out of that Mercedes, the woman who sat across from him in Rosie's diner talking about family and community like they were old friends, is worth over $2 billion. He scrolls through more articles. Photos of Victoria at charity galas, shaking hands with mayors, cutting ribbons at community centers. But the woman in these pictures looks different somehow, more formal, more distant. Not like the person who thanked him 3 times for buying her a cup of coffee. One headline catches his attention. Sterling Foundation seeks community partners for next major investment. The article is dated just 2 weeks ago. Terrell's phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Made it home safely. Thank you again for everything. Victoria. She must have gotten his number from when he called her phone to make sure it was working while they waited at the diner. But something about getting a text from a billionaire at 4 a.m. feels surreal. He types back, "Glad you're safe. Drive careful when you get your car back." Her response comes immediately. "Will do. Don't forget what I said about calling that number." Terrell looks at the business card again, then at the search results on his phone. Victoria Sterling doesn't just run a foundation. She's one of the most powerful people in Chicago. And for some reason, she wants him to call her. But why? What could someone like him possibly offer someone like her? Uptown, in her penthouse office, Victoria Sterling sits surrounded by community development files and demographic reports. On her desk is a photo from tonight, a security camera image from the diner showing her and Terrell in conversation. She's not looking at the photo, though. She's looking at a detailed map of Chicago's South Side, with one neighborhood circled in red. Terrell's neighborhood. 3 days pass before Terrell works up the courage to call the number on Victoria's card. He's sitting in his Honda during his lunch break from the delivery job, parked outside a senior center on the South Side. The morning's route took him through some of Chicago's wealthiest neighborhoods, Lincoln Park, Gold Coast, River North, and the contrast with his own area is impossible to ignore. Every pothole he dodged, every boarded-up storefront he passed, every group of teenagers hanging around because there's nowhere else to go. It all feels more pronounced after meeting Victoria. She lives in a world of marble lobbies and doormen, while he lives in a world of broken streetlights and sirens. But her text message from this morning changed something. "Terrell, I'm in your neighborhood today." "Coffee?" "Your neighborhood. Not the South Side or that area. Your neighborhood." Like she knows exactly where he lives. His phone rings before he can call her. Victoria's number. "Terrell? I hope I'm not bothering you at work." "No, I'm on lunch break. You said you were in the neighborhood?" "I'm at the Sterling Community Center on 47th Street. Do you know it?" Terrell's grip tightens on the phone. The Sterling Community Center. He drives past it every day. It's 3 blocks from his apartment. The same community center where he volunteers on weekends, teaching kids basic auto repair. "Yeah, I know it. Wait. That's your foundation center?" "One of them. Could you meet me here? There's something I need to show you." 20 minutes later, Terrell walks into the community center he's been volunteering at for 2 years, seeing it with completely different eyes. The Sterling Foundation logo is everywhere, on the basketball court, the computer lab, the job training classrooms. How had he never noticed? Victoria is waiting in the main lobby, but she's not alone. She's talking to Marcus Williams, the center director, and 2 other people in business suits. When she sees Terrell, her face lights up. "Terrell, thank you for coming." She turns to the group. "Everyone, this is the young man I was telling you about." Marcus looks confused. "You 2 know each other?" "We met a few nights ago," Victoria says carefully. "Terrell, could we talk privately for a few minutes?" She leads him to a small conference room and closes the door. On the table are dozens of documents, maps, architectural drawings, and financial projections. Terrell recognizes some of the street names immediately. They're all from his neighborhood. "Victoria, what is all this?" She takes a deep breath. "Terrell, I wasn't entirely honest with you the other night about why I was out in that storm." "What do you mean?" "I was coming back from a city planning meeting. A meeting about this." She gestures to the documents on the table. The Sterling Foundation is planning a $50 million investment in community development, job training, small business loans, affordable housing renovation, family support services. Terrell's eyes scan the papers. Maps of his neighborhood, lists of local businesses, demographics reports, financial projections. "Okay, but what does this have to do with me?" Victoria sits down across from him. "For the past 6 months, we've been looking for the right community liaison. Someone who understands the neighborhood, who people trust, who can bridge the gap between foundation resources and community needs." And 3 nights ago, you proved you're exactly who we've been looking for." Terrell stares at her. "You're telling me that helping you in the blizzard was some kind of job interview?" "No!" Victoria's response is immediate and forceful. "Terrell, I had no idea who you were that night. But when I got home and started thinking about our conversation, about your character, your insight into community needs, your natural leadership," she pauses. "I had my assistant do some research." She slides a folder across the table. Inside are printouts, his employment records, his volunteer work at the community center, testimonials from neighbors, even records of his custody case with Maya. "You researched me. I had to know if what I saw that night was real. And it is, Terrell. You're everything this project needs." Terrell's mind races. "The community center where I volunteer, Bo. We built it 2 years ago. You've been volunteering at one of our facilities without knowing it. The kids I teach auto repair to are part of our youth development program. The neighborhood improvement meetings I attend, we've been funding those initiatives." Terrell sits back in his chair, overwhelmed. "So you've been watching me. For how long?" "No, not watching. Your name came up in community feedback surveys. People kept mentioning that young man, Terrell, who helps everyone. But I never connected it to you until after the blizzard." Victoria leans forward. "Terrell, I'm offering you a position as Community Development Director. $85,000 a year plus benefits. Your job would be to help us make sure this $50 million investment actually serves the people who live here." "Why me?" "Because you stopped to help a stranger in a blizzard without expecting anything in return. Because you refused payment for doing the right thing. Because when I asked people in your neighborhood about you, they all said the same thing. Terrell's one of the good ones. He cares about this place." Terrell looks at the architectural drawings spread across the table. New job training facilities, a small business incubator, renovated housing, all in his neighborhood, all designed to create opportunities for people like him. "There's something else," Victoria says quietly. "The foundation has a family support division. We help with custody cases, housing stability, medical expenses for dependents." "Maya, we could help you bring your sister home, Terrell. Legally, properly, with all the support services the court requires." For the first time in 11 years, Terrell Jackson sees a path forward that doesn't involve working 3 jobs just to survive. But more than that, he sees a chance to lift up everyone around him. What would I have to do? Victoria smiles. Help me save your neighborhood the same way you saved me. Terrell stares at the documents spread across the conference table, his mind struggling to process what Victoria is offering. $85,000 a year, family support services, a chance to bring Maya home, a chance to transform his entire neighborhood. I need you to understand what you're asking me, he says slowly. You want me to be the face of a $50 million project. I clean office buildings, Victoria. I deliver medical supplies. I fix cars on weekends. And you volunteer at this community center every Saturday morning, teaching teenagers skills that could change their lives. You attend neighborhood improvement meetings even though you work 3 jobs. You know every business owner on 3 different blocks. Victoria's voice is steady, confident. Terrell, you've been preparing for this job your entire life without knowing it. She slides another folder across the table. This is our family support package. Legal assistance for custody cases, housing support, medical coverage for dependents, educational assistance for children transitioning from foster care. Terrell opens the folder with trembling hands. The custody assistance program alone would cover everything the court requires: stable housing, steady employment, family counseling services. Everything he's been working toward for years, laid out in official foundation letterhead. Maya could be home in 4 months, Victoria continues. Our legal team has reviewed cases like yours. With proper representation and documented stability, the reunification process is straightforward. What's the catch? Victoria appreciates his directness. The catch is that this position requires everything you have: full-time commitment, public visibility, community responsibility. You'd be making decisions that affect thousands of people. You'd be the bridge between a billionaire foundation and families just trying to survive. She stands and walks to the window overlooking the basketball court where teenagers are playing pickup games. You'd also be betting your future on me, on us, on the belief that this foundation can actually make a difference instead of just making us feel good about ourselves. Why should I trust you? Because you shouldn't. Victoria turns back to face him. You should visit our other sites. Talk to the community directors in Detroit, Milwaukee, Cleveland. Ask them what it's really like to work with us. Ask them about the failures, the bureaucracy, the politics. Ask them if they'd do it again. She pulls out her phone and shows him a video. On screen, a young black woman is speaking at what looks like a city council meeting. That's Keisha Johnson in Detroit, community director for 3 years. She'll tell you that we're not perfect, that we make mistakes, that sometimes foundation priorities conflict with community needs. She'll also tell you that her neighborhood unemployment rate dropped from 38% to 12%. Terrell watches the video, noting how confidently the woman speaks, how she commands respect in the room. What would my actual day-to-day look like? Victoria sits back down, her demeanor shifting to pure business. Month 1, community listening tours. You'd spend 40 hours a week talking to residents, business owners, and community leaders, understanding what people actually need versus what we think they need. She flips to a detailed timeline. Month 2, program design. Working with our policy team to customize our standard offerings to your neighborhood's specific challenges. Month 3 through 6, implementation. Hiring local staff, opening the job training center, launching the small business loan program, beginning housing renovations. And after that? After that, you run a multi-million-dollar community development operation. You have a staff of 15, an annual budget of $8 million, and the responsibility to prove that community-led investment actually works. Terrell sits quietly for several minutes, processing the magnitude of what she's describing. What about my current jobs? You'd give your 2 weeks' notice. We'll cover any lost income during the transition. What about Grandma's medical expenses? Full family medical coverage starting day 1. Her current doctors, her medications, any specialists she needs. What about Maya's education when she comes home? Tutoring support, college preparation programs, full scholarship fund for higher education. Victoria leans forward. Terrell, I'm not offering you charity. I'm offering you a career, a chance to build something lasting in your own community. And if I fail, then we both fail. But if you succeed, she gestures toward the window again. Those kids playing basketball could have job training programs that lead to real careers. Their parents could access small business loans to start the enterprises they've been dreaming about. Their grandparents could live in renovated apartments with proper heating and modern appliances. Terrell thinks about Mrs. Rodriguez from his block, who's been trying to expand her catering business for 5 years but can't get a loan. About Tommy's nephew, who's brilliant with engines but dropped out of high school because his family needed income. About his own grandmother, rationing her medication because it's too expensive. How do I know you won't pull funding if the project doesn't meet your expectations? Because we're not just investing money, we're investing in reputation. If this project fails, it reflects on me personally, on the foundation's credibility, on our ability to do this work anywhere else. Victoria slides the employment contract across the table. But more than that, Terrell, after spending 3 hours with you in a diner, watching how you treat people, listening to how you think about community, I believe you won't let it fail. Terrell picks up the contract, noting the salary figure, the benefits package, the performance benchmarks. Everything he's worked toward for years, condensed into 12 pages of legal language. When do you need an answer? The city council votes on our zoning permits next Friday. If you're going to do this, we need to move fast. And if I say yes? 6 months later, the transformation is undeniable. The old vacant lot on 47th and Martin Luther King Drive, where teenagers used to hang out because there was nowhere else to go, now houses the Sterling Workforce Development Center. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, you can see welding stations, computer labs, and automotive training bays buzzing with activity. Terrell walks through the center every morning at 7 a.m., checking in with instructors and students. Today he stops at the automotive bay where Marcus Thompson, the same kid who used to skip school, is installing a transmission under Tommy's supervision. Tommy now works full-time as the center's automotive instructor, making twice what he earned at his old garage. How's he doing? Terrell asks. Kid's got natural talent, Tommy grins. Give him 6 more weeks, he'll be ready for that apprenticeship at the Ford plant. The numbers tell the story better than words. In 6 months, the Workforce Center has graduated 127 people from various programs. 118 of them found employment within 30 days, earning an average of $18.50 per hour. For a neighborhood where the median household income was $31,000, these aren't just jobs, they're pathways to middle-class stability. Down the street, the small business incubator occupies a renovated storefront that used to house a check-cashing place. Mrs. Rodriguez's catering company now operates out of a commercial kitchen here, employing 6 people and catering events across the South Side. The Sterling Foundation's microloan program gave her the $15,000 she needed to buy professional equipment and hire help. Terrell helped me understand the business plan requirements, she tells a local news reporter doing a story on the neighborhood's transformation. But more than that, he believed in my dream when the banks wouldn't even listen. The housing renovation program has touched 78 apartment units so far, prioritizing longtime residents like Grandma Evelyn's friend, Mrs. Washington, who's lived on the same block for 40 years. Her new apartment has central air conditioning, updated plumbing, and a bathroom designed for seniors with mobility issues. The rent remains the same, affordable housing that's actually affordable. But it's the family success stories that make Terrell's eyes well up with pride. Maya has been home for 4 months now, living in their new 3-bedroom apartment just 6 blocks from their old place. She's thriving at the neighborhood high school, where the Sterling Foundation's after-school program provides tutoring and college prep. Last week, she told Terrell she wants to study urban planning in college. I want to help design communities like you're doing, she said over dinner, but maybe focus on parks and recreational spaces. Grandma Evelyn's health has improved dramatically since gaining access to better medical care through Terrell's employee benefits. Her diabetes is well controlled, her arthritis pain is manageable, and she's started volunteering at the community center's senior programs. My grandson is helping save this neighborhood, she tells anyone who will listen. But really, this neighborhood saved him right back. The ripple effects extend beyond individual success stories. Local crime rates have dropped 22% as more young people engage in workforce programs instead of street activities. 3 new businesses have opened independently: a barber shop, a daycare center, and a small grocery store, drawn by the increased foot traffic and economic activity. The Sterling Foundation's model has attracted national attention. Delegations from foundations in Atlanta, Philadelphia, and Oakland have visited to study their community-led approach. Terrell has spoken at conferences in Washington, D.C. and New York, sharing insights about authentic community investment. The secret isn't the money, he tells audiences. It's listening to people who actually live in these neighborhoods and trusting them to know what they need. Victoria watches these presentations with pride that goes beyond professional satisfaction. She's found something she didn't expect when she started this project: a genuine friendship with someone whose perspective challenges and enriches her understanding of community development. "You've taught me more about effective philanthropy than my MBA did," she tells Terrell after his latest speaking engagement. The Sterling Southside project has become the Foundation's flagship initiative. City council members who initially questioned the investment now point to it as a model for public-private partnerships. Property values have increased modestly, enough to build equity for homeowners, but not enough to displace long-time residents. Most importantly, the community has embraced the changes because they were designed with community input from day one. Terrell's weekly listening sessions ensure that programs adapt to actual needs rather than foundation assumptions. As he walks home each evening, passing familiar faces who now have new opportunities, Terrell reflects on how much has changed since that blizzard night. He stopped to help one person and ended up helping hundreds. But the most powerful change is still to come, in a moment that will prove kindness creates endless cycles of opportunity. 1 year later, Chicago gets hit by another blizzard. Terrell is driving home from a city council meeting where the Sterling Foundation just received approval for their second Southside development project. Maya is in the passenger seat. She's 17 now, volunteering as his assistant on community outreach programs during winter break from her senior year. "Dad would be proud," Maya says, using the name she's started calling him since moving back home. "You've become exactly who he always said you'd be." The radio crackles with familiar warnings. Travel not recommended. Emergency shelters open. Stay off the roads unless absolutely necessary. But this time, Terrell is driving a reliable car with good heat and new tires. The foundation provides a vehicle allowance for community directors. That's when Maya spots the hazard lights through the snow. "Terrell, look." She points ahead to where a car sits motionless on the shoulder. "Should we stop?" Terrell pulls over without hesitation. Through the swirling snow, they can see it's an older sedan with 3 people inside: a young father, his wife, and what looks like a toddler in a car seat. "Stay in the car where it's warm," Terrell tells Maya. "I'll check on them." The young father rolls down his window as Terrell approaches. "Man, thank God you stopped. Our engine just died, and my son, he's only 2, and it's so cold." "I've got you. My car's warm, and we can give you a ride to safety." As they help transfer the family, baby, diaper bag, and all, Maya watches her brother with admiration. This is who he's always been, she realizes. The foundation didn't change his character. It just gave him the resources to help on a bigger scale. At the emergency shelter, the same community center where Terrell now works, the young father tries to offer gas money. "I can't take that," Terrell says with a smile. "Just pass it forward when you get the chance." The father looks confused. "Pass what forward?" "Help. Someday you'll see someone who needs what you can offer. And when you do, you'll stop. That's how this works." As they drive home through the quiet, snow-covered streets, Maya asks, Do you ever think about that night? The night you met Victoria? Every day. But not because it changed my life. Terrell glances at his sister. Brilliant, confident, home where she belongs. I think about it because it reminded me that the best things happen when you forget about yourself long enough to see someone else. They pull into their driveway. Through the window, they can see Grandma Evelyn waiting up for them, healthy and happy in her warm apartment. Besides, Terrell adds, saving Victoria wasn't really about her. It was about everyone we could save together. Maya nods, understanding. Same reason we stopped tonight. Exactly. Because that's who we are. That's who this neighborhood taught us to be. Terrell's story proves that kindness isn't just about the moment, it's about the movement that follows. When he stopped in that blizzard, he didn't just save Victoria's life. He opened a door to transform an entire community, reunite his family, and create opportunities for hundreds of neighbors who needed someone to believe in them. Every day, we pass people who need help. A stranded motorist, someone struggling with groceries, a neighbor facing hard times. Your act of kindness could be the beginning of something bigger than you can imagine. Victoria had resources, but she needed Terrell's heart to show her how to use them. You have something unique to offer too. Your compassion, your perspective, your willingness to see potential in people others overlook. What if the person you help today becomes the partner who helps you change the world? Share this story if it moved you. Because somewhere, someone is waiting for their blizzard moment, when a stranger's kindness changes everything. Like and subscribe to Black Voices Uncut for more stories that prove when we lift each other up, we all rise together.